I think we would all agree that business as usual is not an option anymore, either here or in the United States. The crisis of the last 2 years has been so difficult and devastating that the option of just going forward as though nothing has happened really certainly doesn't exist. President Obama said just last week that he said we have to do everything we can to ensure that no crisis like this happens again. That's what publics expect, both in the United States and throughout Europe. That's what politicians have been demanded of by their constituencies. And in the United States, we are taking that very seriously. There is legislation moving very quickly through the United States Congress. We had legislation that passed the House, and we have legislation that's moving to the Senate floor to reform our financial structure. And I'm encouraged by the progress we've made. I spent a good part of my career in the private sector, most recently as a partner in a global private equity firm. So day in and day out, I would see the impact of the global financial world in a very real and tangible way. And there's such an interdependence in our global financial structure that the notion that we could go in separate directions and both be successful just doesn't exist. We are so interdependent. We're kind of like Siamese twins. You can't pull us apart if you wanted to. So I think we have a huge interest in making sure that as we reassess the regulatory environment for the financial services industry, that we do so in a way that, to the extent we can, we make these structures compatible. The alternative, of course, is regulatory arbitrage and unintended consequences, less stability in our financial structures than we would like. We do have different structures. We have to address that. We have to be honest with ourselves, different political systems. We're both coming out of a recession, and sometimes that causes economies to look inward. And the first instinct is not to try to work together across international borders. I'm actually encouraged because I think if you look over the last 10 years, there's a lot of things to be encouraged about. Collectively, we addressed first the globalization of the financial system the last 10 years, and more recently the financial crisis. And particularly in the financial crisis, it did demonstrate that when things get really serious, we can pull together. Collectively, our governments came to roughly the same solution: how to inject capital into the banking system, and we both executed. We got it done. And I think history will show that those collective actions helped to avert a worldwide depression. So we should build on that success. I think we can. I think you heard earlier from my colleague from the U.S. government, Mark Soul, who was here, who talked about the compelling need for us to work together. But I think the fundamental thing that we have to realize is financial reform will happen. It will happen in the United States. I'm convinced it will happen here. And I know there are a lot of people from the business community here today, and I will reiterate what President Obama told Wall Street last week, which was really a plea to work together on this. Because this is an effort that will be a better outcome, a better effort, if we work together with the financial industry. Something that we should do with the industry as opposed to the industry. And I don't think it's too late for that to happen. It's not really a question of whether we will reform or not, but really, once we know that we will take action, let's do it together and make sure that we can do it with the best outcome possible, working together collectively.